And we are back. It is not Wednesday, it is Thursday. We are here for another edition of Woodbine Live. Dan Tordjman here, Emily Gullikson, Ashley Mailloux. Happy Thursday night. This is the place to be. We've been tweeting about it all week. We put it on Facebook. We put it everywhere we could to remind you to tune in because we have been on an unbelievably hot streak. This is awkward to brag, but I mean, we've just been hot. I mean, Emily, arguably, no one's been hotter than you. If you don't know Emily, partner at Optics EQ, handicapper, analyst at Brisnet. Emily, can we keep this going tonight?
Yeah, I think we're going to try. I mean, there's, obviously I think the sixth race and the eighth race are really competitive. I mean, they're really tough. You're going to need a lot of racing luck, but we'll aim for a price. And then in the middle leg, we were talking about if we hit play. I think Pink Lloyd is vulnerable, so he's kind of the key for me, just as far as kind of playing the sequence tonight, beating him. So tall task, but yeah, if we get some racing luck, we can definitely keep it going.
A little tease ahead to Pink Lloyd coming up in the Shepperton Stakes. That'll be the next race, the seventh race on the night at Woodbine. Of course, you can watch the races here with us. If you're in Canada, you can watch on TSN Racing Night Live out there. If you want to watch that broadcast in the U.S., you can go to the YouTube channel of ABR, and you can see it there. Not to be outdone, though, Ashley cashing on a smaller ticket last week, the late double that paid $186 and was it 90 cents? Was that the
95 cents? 95 cents.
Don't get it wrong.
Excuse me, Ashley, the paddock analyst at Fort Erie and has been everywhere lately, including the Meadowlands. Ashley, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I agree with Emily. I think I'm looking forward to personally probably the sixth race the most. I think this had a lot of value in it. I have to see what the odds are, though. I know we talk about that all the time. That kind of decides what direction we lean in, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, Pink Lloyd, he's pretty remarkable to watch, but I always try to beat favorites, so I'm going to try to do the same.
All right. Well, I'm on board, too. I'm going to take a swing as well. We've got some viewers joining us tonight from Puerto Rico. We've got Mark here watching us on Facebook, who is ready at exactly 6 o'clock. Good thing is we went on live about a minute earlier just so we can get to this race. The first race of the night for us is going to be race 6 at Woodbine. Nice field. This was a good betting race. Looking at the field up and down, you got a $62,000 optional claimer here. Non-2 here other than 6.5 furlongs on the all-weather, the PETA there at Woodbine. Emily, do you want to kick us off and kind of go through this field a little bit?
Well, I feel like Ashley said this is the race she's into. So
all right, Ashley, you kick us off.
Yeah, this is her race to rock it.
Well, I mean, kind of looking at it, we kind of talked right before the show opened. Analyzer is currently the favorite at 7-2. I thought he might float up from the morning line. I actually thought 5-2 was a little short on him. I mean, obviously, he's coming into this race, I should say, off a win right off the layoff, and it was pretty impressive. I mean, he did win by 6.5. I still like him. For me, I actually really like the horse to his inside, the 2 Piven. I'm going to give this horse a shot, especially up from the morning line at 3-1. I know, obviously, he disappointed last time out down at Gulfstream over the turf, but go back to his races here last year. He was actually claimed out of the Kevin Attard barn, and I think that's key, and Mark Casse gets him, so obviously goes from one capable set of hands to another. I think you look at his races here. I mean, they're going 6.5 today. His last win came at the distance, and I just think his form at Woodbine is the most appealing thing. He's a 4-time winner over the Tapeta there. He seems to be training well. He was at Cassie's training center, then has that one breeze, 47 flat, second fastest of 121. I just think this is an intriguing horse at a price. Kind of looking at some others in here. The 5, Super Smart. This was one I could see maybe underneath. Obviously really likes it at Woodbine, coming out of those optional 62s, was 4th last time out. You look at the effort before, that was 3rd behind Not So Quiet. So respectable efforts, but I still, for me, I'm all over Piven in this spot. I really like the 2, and all my wagers that I'm going to use them on top.
I like that. I like that call. I also like Piven. I do want to mention Mark Casse, who's got the 2 entered in here, has got Piven, and also the 6 Explorationist, who figures to be forwardly placed, is live right now on Cocktails and Conversations over on the Breeders' Cup channels. Our friends over there let us know that because they said that Mark Casse was you know, they invited him onto the show, and he was a little tense about going to do a live show. He's got a couple of horses running here. He also has a horse that I believe we all like in the next race. So anyhow, I want to just give a shout out to our friends over at the Breeders' Cup. But with that being said, I just kind of touched a little bit on the dynamic here that, Emily, I'd like for you to get into, and that's the pace dynamic. We know that Explorationist will be forwardly placed here. We saw that the 7-horse, Circle of Friends, showed some good speed last out. The 9-horse as well has shown speed in the past. How did you see the pace unfolding in this race?
Yeah, I think the pace is really contentious in here. And I think for both of those horses, if you're looking at the number 6 Explorationist and the number 7 Circle of Friends, both those horses want to be forwardly placed. And then in terms of distance, the 6.5 furlongs, you know, I think there's a little bit of concern. I mean, this is when you start talking 6.5, 7 furlongs, these are kind of specialty type distances. And so that's just sort of when you have a contentious field and you have horses where you want to see maybe if the 6 had a pace advantage or the 7 had a pace advantage, those types of things you could upgrade. But because they don't really have an edge in terms of class or speed figures. So I just think in terms of Explorationist, maybe the trip can get him beat. And then Circle of Friends, I mean, I was just a little bit, I think he's probably capable. It would just kind of come down to value. But again, I'm not sold when there's other ways to go. I'll kind of piggyback on what Ashley said, just kind of a couple things. I mean, in terms of Analyzer, it was an impressive win last time out. It came off the layoff. Those were super hot conditions that day. And so it's a little concerning when you have a horse that's running, a big effort off the bench under those conditions, and he comes back in 2 weeks, that it's possible regression. And honestly, his speed figures, looking at optics figures, he would almost have to improve off that race. So for him to be the favorite right now, and it's pretty lukewarm at 7-2, now 3-1, that to me is vulnerable. It's kind of a horse you want to take on. I agree, kind of everything on Piven. He fits in terms of class. He has the win at the distance. He's in form. Last time out at Gulfstream Park, again, those races, it's probably not what he wants to do there. He's kind of had that 3 months since. He's had the class, the level, speed figures that fit. And then just in terms of trip, looks to kind of be right there and able to kind of stalk and press, able to save some ground, which has been favorable all through last week. Kind of speed bias all last week, and I think watching the races early on the card, they're a little bit more fair. The value to me, I know Ashley touched on him and said he's kind of an underneath play. I'm willing to kind of upgrade the number 5 Super Smart. I think there's a lot of upside just in terms of form cycle. This is his 3rd start of the form cycle. He ran at this condition back on June 6th. It was a good race, but just kind of one of those where it seemed like he needed the race and he needed more ground. And then last time out, he broke slow. There was traffic. He was kind of shuffled back. The inside speed was kind of favoring. There's the 6 warming up on the track. And I just think this is kind of like the perfect storm for him, that he's been able to get that conditioning. He fits well at the class. And then this is a distance that just kind of suits him. So a real logical horse. And then also, I mean, if I'm looking at optics plot, the number 4, he's 17-1 right now. He just like stands out. And I know sometimes it's optics plot kind of upgrades certain things, and him coming off the turf in Arlington Park. So it's some different surfaces. But I've gone back and I've watched his races on the synthetic, and I know he had kind of some perfect trips, but he kind of fits in here, and I'm not willing to just kind of dismiss that 17-1 price right now, especially when I don't like the favorite, which allows you to kind of spread. The number 8 is on the screen right now, and this is a horse that's just
don't steal my thunder.
Okay, go for it. I will.
I had this all queued up. I'd say something bad about him anyway.
Okay, so good. I'll say something nice.
I had this all queued up.
Yeah.
I'm a big ABBA fan. I like ABBA.
All right, before we get sued, different spelling, but I love this horse, ABBA. If you watch that last race, the horse was 7.5 lengths behind Analyzer, but it should not have been 7.5 lengths behind Analyzer, because he had this dream ground-saving trip. He was behind 2 speed horses, never tipped out. He looked absolutely loaded the entire time. And then Rafael Hernandez was just waiting for a split, waiting for a hole to open up rather than tipping out. And look, I'm not trying to take a shot. He's a great jockey. it was not a great ride. And it was one of those rides where it's like, look, the horse is coming back off a break. Don't push him too hard. One of those things. I thought ABBA looked very sharp and could have potentially given Analyzer a run for his money that day, but he never really got into the race. And so for me, I thought that was, at least visually, I thought he looked a lot better than what you'll see just looking at the PPs if you watch that replay. The price a couple of minutes ago, okay, we're about the same. We're at 7-1. No, I'll take 7-1 all day on this horse. You're looking again at some connections that we've gone back to week after week. We've talked about how strong and scary they are. Norm McKnight, Kaz Kimura, and the horse obviously has back form, has run well at this distance. 3 wins over the surface here at Woodbine. I think this horse, if the speed does show up like we think it will, and if there's a pace battle up front, and if this horse actually gets ridden late, I think he wins. So I mean, for me, ABBA is the pick at 8-1. I do like Analyzer. I don't love 2-1, 3-1. I thought he might get overlooked a little bit, and so that's the only thing kind of scare me with at the moment. I did have Piven right underneath that, and then Emily, the horse that you mentioned as well, Wiley Peyote, the 4 horse. You can't miss those races over the synthetic at Arlington. Those races were pretty good, and those races would probably win this race if he can rediscover that form. So those are my picks. I'm going to give it just a quick play here. And again, it's a little bit of a scared play, but I'm going to throw in a couple of prices here, and I'm going to include a single in the last leg at 8-1. So these are the horses I'm.
That race is tricky. I mean, I love it. No, I absolutely love it. I wish you were tossing Pink Lloyd in the second leg, but I love the.
I know. I knew you were going to call me on it. I knew you were going to call me. I'm not tossing.
This is it's safe play, but it's also bold. But while you're putting up your play, I mean, I agree totally in terms of the trip on ABBA last time out. I mean, he could have finished much better. Totally nailed the trip. My issues with him, just again, it's another one in terms of trip and distance. And then going back to his races from, it's a while back from 2018 when he had those, they were just absolutely perfect trips. I mean, I can't even describe like how many things in those races like went wrong for other horses in order for him to win. So while I think that effort was good last time out, I really do, and it's the type of horse you would play back. And I think the price is fair right now. To be honest, I'm not against that necessarily, but I kind of was like, oh, if he's going to get overbet, he's kind of could be a little bit of a trap. But I like it. I like your ticket. Don't get me wrong. And good luck to Andrew, Philly boy, 415. A good follow on Twitter, always. So. So that's like 5. He needs the 3 and the 8. So,
Andrew, I'm look. I don't want to get too excited here. Let's let this race unfold. But look, I wouldn't mind sitting there being alive to 3 and 8 right now. Ashley, if you were going to bet this race real quick, what's your quick bet right now?
I played a try 2 all, and then underneath I used the 3 and the 6 in the 3rd spot.
Okay, all right. Looking for some.
I gotta get a price. I don't want chalk, so I went all.
Some chaos underneath. All right, they're off. As expected, the other Cassie, the speedy Cassie, Explorationist to the lead. ABBA, stalking a little more forwardly placed than I expected or that I wanted, but whatever. He's in the race. He's been put into the race today. There's the Super Smart, who I believe Emily mentioned. Thought was a decent shot here.
Kind of a form cycle horse.
Yeah, I don't love this trip. I mean, I don't know why we're 3 wide right now. With a horse who's always sitting off the pace. Anyway.
Yeah, that's sometimes just like in terms of, remember I was saying he's coming out of those shorter races and in terms of distance, but also, I mean, sometimes it's just post, you're just like, you're in that spot and it's like, what are you going to do? Force trying to wind up on the outside. He kind of had a free trip. He's going to maybe try to come over the top, but it looks like whoever has the most stamina, maybe 2, Piven, he's looking for room on the inside. He could get through. This Piven, if he's willing to close inside.
Oh, look at this!
Coming
look
over
at this
the top.
price on the outside. You may get your price. Let's just hope he doesn't get past Piven. Oh, the 4's flying. Who's that between? Is that the 7? Circle of Friends?
7.
I think that worked out nicely for you, Ashley, didn't it?
Yeah.
No, you needed 3-6.
Two. Yeah, I needed the other horses for third. I got it reversed.
You didn't. Oh, I thought you did. I thought you did an exacta and a try. So you had the.
I just had some. The only other thing I had was win money on the 2. So.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Nice.
Well,
that was an awesome. I think that was a good. Your win bet was a good play. He was super logical and a great price. I mean the 2.
How did he go off at 9-2?
It looks like the 7 beat the 4 too for place.
7 was surprised me. Complete change in tactics. I mean, last race again was a 4-horse race, so I mean there weren't many options there. But was sent straight to the lead, I guess, to try to maybe wire the field there. But complete change in tactics here. Took back. Really had the trip that I would have loved for ABBA right there. And
that was interesting too. I didn't point it out, but Rafael Hernandez. It looks like he could have ridden 2 other horses in here, and he went to Piven over both the 8 and the 9, which swayed my opinion a little bit.
Right, and I talked some trash on him, so you have to come back and win. Jess Chan saying Ashley again.
Yeah, I love this horse. I'm done. I said race 6. That's what I like. I'm done. Good luck, guys.
Well, let's take it. Well, my pick 3 is alive. Not the best price out of the horses I had, but I'm glad we all share in the win there, and hopefully my single in the last leg gets me home. So a couple things going on. As people know, if you've been watching the show the past few weeks, the 7 o'clock hour is the harness hour. We've got Robert Reid Jr. joining us from the Horse Players Journal. He's going to be giving us some insights along with Ashley on some of the standardbred races tonight at Woodbine Mohawk. The next race coming up at Woodbine is the Shepperton Stakes for Ontario sired horses, 3 and up, 6.5 on the all-weather on the Tapeta there at Woodbine. And Pink Lloyd is the superstar of the race. And so I'm not going to play it just yet. We've got a little video that we thought I could give people an idea. If you don't know who Pink Lloyd is, he's like Canada's horse. And give you a little sense for what he's accomplished. And this is a video that was actually produced for Racing Night Live on TSN. And so if you're in Canada watching right now, betting along with us, you could turn your TV on at the same time to TSN, watch Racing Night Live. As we've mentioned before, you could also watch Racing Night Live on ABR's YouTube channel if you're here in the U.S. We've got Beamy Awards here. How about Beamy Awards? Tune in. Now you know we've hit the mainstream. We've hit the mainstream. Beamy's watching us. SPN.
I appreciate Jason picking up on that. And I think that's really important, just for horse players to understand why horses run good races, bad races, and the certain things that it takes out of them. Because, that horse just to me kind of all around look regression. And even Explorationist, where he fit all the way around. He ran a good race. He was up close to that hot contested pace and kind of stayed on. But again, the question was distance, and that kind of seemed to get to him late. So I think both those horses are worth a look coming back. This just wasn't the spot for them today. Explorationist, when he kind of cuts back, he can run on turf and synthetic, but certainly fits at this level. So that slight change in distance, you'll probably get a price on him. And the same thing with Analyzer. He just, give him 45 days and he can probably, and in the right spot, a little bit of class relief, and he can come back. So important things to note, because these are things that when you're handicapping just kind of on paper and you're not kind of trained to look at why horses run good, bad races, that stuff can fall through the cracks.
Never expected to see 1150 underneath Piven's name. That's surprising. I don't know what happened there exactly.
The 2 horses got overbet. The 6 and the 3 and the 6 got overbet.
But how was it the 6 was the Cassie that took money? It looked like there would be a speed duel, and that was the Cassie. That looked like the horse that was out there to set it up for Piven.
I just think sometimes those horses coming out of the States and going back to Canada, like that sort of thing, and seeing the levels there, they automatically think that this horse should improve getting back to Canada, and it doesn't always pan out that way. Especially in the case of him. He's only had 1 start at Woodbine, so he's done a lot of traveling throughout his career, where you look at someone like Piven, some of his better races, they've been at Woodbine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably also where you got a little bit of a price too, is because his most recent two races for Cassie weren't that great. So I think maybe, people like to look at what happened, right on the top of the PPs, and you see those 5s and 7s and things like that. So I think you got a really great price and overlay there at 9-2.
All right. So we've got about 20 minutes or so until the 7th race at Woodbine, the return of Pink Lloyd. We're going to show you this really sweet feature on Pink Lloyd, and then we're going to tell you how we're going to bet against him. So enjoy this.
Woodbine legend Pink Lloyd, a perfect 8-for-8 season in 2017 and named Canada's Horse of the Year. Invincible again in 2019, 6 wins in 6 starts. Named Canada's champion sprinter 3 years running.
It's Pink Lloyd, he's gonna get up. Pink Lloyd does it, just when it mattered. Great performance.
So, is Pink Lloyd a super horse? His Hall of Fame trainer Bob Tiller would argue yes.
He's won 22 races, 19 stakes. He's earned $1.7 million Canadian right here at Woodbine.
LeBron James of Canadian horse racing, does that fit?
The great athletes in modern times share an intangible trait, possessing both the physical talent and competitive fire that results in success at the highest levels. Like them, Pink Lloyd has been able to harness his speed and temperament to dominate. But even in morning training, his will to win is evident.
Attaboy. Attaboy. Get happy. That's it. He's happy. You get a horse in front of him, he wants to chase him. He knows what he has to do. And he's quite smart, he's quite happy, and he's just an amazing animal. I think he's half human at times.
Pink Lloyd loves the camera too. He loves it so much, he's had his win photo taken 22 times in 27 career starts.
Pink Lloyd just keeps on winning.
But back at the barn, he's Mr. Comfortably Numb.
And that's his personality. He's just, now it doesn't mean you can trust him. You can't trust any horse, but he certainly has a very docile personality. He's very, very smart.
Like many these days, Pink Lloyd is itching to get back to work, and his devoted trainer is grateful to see him resume a storied career that's made Pink Lloyd a local icon.
He's the best.
You just don't find a horse like this. And he just warms my heart. Whether he wins today or not, he'll always be my hero. And I love him to death. And I mean that, real love.
So that was before the Jacques Cartier Stakes that video was produced and run on Racing Night Live. That was back on June 25th, so about a month ago. He did win that race. That was the 4th time he'd won that race. He's won the upcoming race, the Shepperton Stakes, twice before. He would tie the record for the most wins in this race ever if he wins here. Pink Lloyd, obviously, again, a superstar at Woodbine. Most of his wins, though, of course, coming in a lot of this restricted Ontario Sire Company. And so, hasn't faced, really the tougher horses outside of the circuit or an open company. And look, this field is mostly limited to horses who have been running in restricted company as well. But there are a couple of others who have faced tougher of late and who potentially could bounce back. I think the one that a lot of our eyes have gone to it's one of the horses that Pink Lloyd beat last out, but who's running on nicely late. That's Not So Quiet on the outside. Emily, I don't want to steal your thunder here. I know that was one that you like, so go ahead and make the case for him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think he's really the only horse you can make a case for, unless you guys want to get creative, that can beat Pink Lloyd. And part of that, I think he kind of has 2 things going for him. One is the pace scenario, that he just might be quick enough and seems kind of in form enough to get out in front and to be tough on the front end. And then in terms of his form cycle, this is the 3rd race of his form cycle. So his first race back came after a 566-day layoff. And again, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about last time out. And he took pressure and held on the front end at a distance that's probably a little bit too short for him. Sometimes at those shorter distances, horses have to run faster and work harder, and you consider that layoff in there. So when he came back in 19 days, you have to take that into consideration, that he ran that big race coming off the layoff at a distance that's a little bit less than ideal, had to work for it. And so not quite fully recovered that day. And then also going into that grade 3 race, I noticed on track, they gave him a really, really, really aggressive warm up. And to me, I just don't like to see it. I have it documented. I can go back years and look at those type of warm ups and how horses perform afterwards. It's not great. So you have kind of from a form cycle wise, that just wasn't the quite ideal spot for him. And then the warm up kind of taking something out of him. And so he has that rebound here, and he has fast races going back to his 2018 season. Again, remember, keep in mind, he missed 2019. So you have to go back to that 2018 season. As a 3-year-old running races that are as fast as Pink Lloyd, not necessarily Pink Lloyd on his best day, but maybe where Pink Lloyd is right now. And that just might be good enough. So if number 6 looks like he's in the right part of his form cycle, if he has that pace advantage, he's sitting on this peak race, this could be the spot. I mean, Pink Lloyd, he's the horse to beat. I mean, his races, you know, he's fast, he's solid, he's consistent. I mean, all the things that we just saw in the video, you know, kind of like, quote unquote, where's the lie? Last time out, you know, he's coming back off a 215-day layoff. So, you know, that's worth kind of noting. You know, maybe he was a little bit short, but visually, I just thought it was an okay effort for him. You know, there was nothing about it. You know, he looked on paper like the horse to beat. He ran that way. There was kind of just nothing. I mean, he broke slow into the gate. I saw him doing that a little bit last year. That's not the most positive you want to see with horses when they're getting older. So when you have, I know this is like nitpicky and these are small little things, but when you have a horse that's 1 to 9, you get to be nitpicky because those things matter. And so if he breaks slow, he breaks in the gate, he's from the rail, he's got to rally, the horse he's got to beat is out in front of him, you know, he's got to kind of work a trip, those types of things. So, you know, again, I think he's the horse to beat. I think your ticket keeping him on there is the safe way to play. But, you know, from a gambling standpoint, I'm trying to go. If this is the day for the 6, I'm willing to find out.
All right. No, I like it, and I'm with you. I didn't even know that whole, you know, that whole warm up story situation you just relayed. I didn't know any of that. So that's really good insight. Thanks for sharing that. Ashley, what do you think?
I mean, these are races that I just sit back and watch. I'm not going to lie. To me, the only thing I could play here, and I know Emily will like to hear this word, is a double. That's the only thing, and I'd have to use the 6. I can't use anyone else because I just don't see it happening. It's going to be the 1 or the 6, in my opinion. You know, I think Emily brings up some valid points. I like this for third off a layoff, especially in the case of such a long layoff. I think this horse, like the big thing is, I think the distance is going to fit this horse better than that debut. Even last time, this horse was rolling late. So having the 6.5 furlong distance, that's a big plus in my book. But, you know, I don't really have much to add other than that. I mean, yes, he's the least experienced runner in the field, but to me, he's the only horse that I can really endorse on top other than Pink Lloyd. I mean, obviously, Pink Lloyd's a machine up at Woodbine. You know, I actually saw the last time I saw him race live was when he was declared a non-starter.
Oh, man, let's talk about that. I think Emily had a good day that day.
Good day, Emily.
Am I right? Didn't you have, who was the horse? I'm trying to remember the horse's name.
Who beat Pink Lloyd?
Yeah, the horse that won that race. I also had that horse.
Yorkton. He's been racing in Florida, I think.
Yeah.
And that horse was like what, like 8 to 1, and then after the non-starter declaration, the horse went down to what, 4 to 1 or something like that.
Not according to the chart that I see, he was much shorter than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it looks like he was 6 to 5.
Wow.
Unless I pulled it wrong. Yeah.
To me, that's all I can do. I'll look at the double payouts with about 2 minutes to post and make a decision if I'm going to play a double. But these are the races I can't bet anything else other than that.
Let me throw one other horse out there, and I'm just kind of trying to look at the early exacta probables here to see if there's anything worth even getting creative with here. The horse that I'm looking at is the 5, Dundrum. So this horse, you got to do a lot of artwork on your program if you want to find what's interesting about him. You got to do a lot of coloring and line crossing and all the rest of it. For me, I mean, so first of all, let's just go back. He broke his maiden by nearly 6 lengths in his only attempt at this distance. if you put lines through his recent turf starts and all the route races, you land on the 7 furlong try last August, where he posted his best recent number. Not a bad race at all. $40,000 optional. Runs a nice race there. I don't know. I feel like he's in at the right distance, on the right surface, obviously, for him. He might still be a bit outclassed here. But he is, look, he's also a 2-time winner of these restricted, restricted stakes, level races. And so I didn't think he was completely, I mean, the horse always runs an honest race over the surface at Woodbine. It's a horse to me that, look, I mean, will have to significantly improve over the last few races to be a factor here, especially as a win candidate. But look, the horse is 32-1 right now, basically vying for longest shot on the board status. I think he was impossible. I mean, especially if one or the other doesn't fire of the two horses we talked about to round out the exacta on his best day. I thought maybe he could round out the exacta.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at him, I think that you kind of bring up all the kind of logical points. I think that's, as far as surface and distance, I mean, as kind of right on the money. I mean, where it comes down to with him is he's slower than a lot of the other horses in the race. And the fact that, there could be some upside there. I mean, you talk about the 7 furlong win last August. That's his career high. Again, I'm looking at optics figures, but he earned an 89 that day. So he's still, he's still close to 10 points slower than the other horses in the field. Now, that was in the summer as a 3-year-old, so he has the potential to move forward, but playing him, that's kind of what you're hoping you're going to get, is he's going to make that 10-point improvement. It's not impossible. He's second off the layoff. It's his second start as a 4-year-old. That this is in his wheelhouse. He's just never really run anything close to that, and it kind of is almost paired to his 87 back as in May in the Queenston. Those were kind of his two. And again, that's at 7 furlongs, which is what he wants to do. But again, kind of just seeing that progression. And I just didn't look at this race from kind of an exacta standpoint, because of the 1 to 9 in there. That's, he's logical. Percentage, but that's, I mean, I like where you're going with the 5. Just that's where it was for me. If I'm looking at class, I'm looking at speed, form, trip, those types of things. He's just a little bit below those other horses.
Yeah, look,
at this point, that growth potential could be there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you're sold on the one winning the race and you're just like, well, gee, I mean, like Ashley said, you could just sit out and just watch the race if you want. But what fun is that? If you're telling me now I can get $32 back on a $2 bet, betting Pink Lloyd to win, doesn't sound as bad. Am I right? I mean, how much worse is Dundrum than Not So Quiet on his worst day? I mean, comparing him to Pink Lloyd, it looks like a pretty big jump.
He's still 10 points slower than on his best day. I mean, that's
this damn horse is just too slow. Just too slow.
And, again, he at this point he is. He's too slow. His numbers are too slow. He has that grow up potential, and he'd have to grow up into it. But at this point, I mean, going back to 2018, Not So Quiet, in his allowance win, that was September 22nd, he posted a 99, and that's his career top optics figure. And again, that's compared to Dundrum, also as a 3-year-old, running an 89. So that's where I'm looking at from there. I think he's a good horse. I mean, honestly, I went through this. I'm trying to beat a favorite. I'm looking for any advantages out there. If somebody plays him, I will be rooting for the 5 like nobody's business. But yeah, that's just kind of where it sits for me at this point.
So Sean Patrick Nolan with the simple solution here: $10 clean bet, double 1-8. Ted Fennick, no relation. Please let the ladies talk at least 98% of the time. 100% would be the best situation. Thank you, Ted.
I think we can apply that to the real world.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. And I'm with you. And I am absolutely with you. Ted, we are looking forward to more insights from you throughout the night. So stick with us. We've got a full hour and a half left. If you've got any harness thoughts, we'd like to hear those as well. So wanted to mention also, you see there on the bottom right, bet with us at Dark Horse. I mention it every week. Dark Horse, as well as Woodbine, obviously present this show on a weekly basis. If you haven't downloaded the Dark Horse app, go ahead and do it. Some really cool AI technology behind the way they determine which races are good races to bet. They spit all that info out, and you've got it at your fingertips to play the races on Dark Horse. Their Cube technology is their AI technology that indicates which horses they think are the best value and most likely winners. It's really cool tech, and would recommend downloading it. So if you want more information, go to playdarkhorse.com or just download it whenever you get a moment. It's a lot of fun, and there are basically races throughout the day. The cool thing, or at least it's interesting to me, is that they only let you bet on one race at a time. And so the reason for that is they basically are like, let us crunch all this data, and it takes time to do that and process it, and we want you to focus on this one race. And so it allows you to focus on different kinds of bets and look at everything they're spitting out. So check that out, playdarkhorse.com. So Ashley, you said you'll be sitting back and enjoying this. You also said you were kind of potentially looking at doubles. What do? Do you want to preview some of the horses you like in the last race, or are you gonna actually take a swing at a double here?
I gotta see the payouts. I mean, right now the 6 is now dropped to 6-1. It's really gonna depend. Obviously, Pink Lloyd's gonna go off at 1-9. There's no doubt about that. So it's really going to depend. I mean, we talked about the 1, 5, and the 6. Obviously, we kind of look at the selections for everyone else right now. The only other horse that they really see underneath is the 4, Magical Man. And, I looked at some of his races, and he's kind of right there, but underneath. So he's like another horse. I couldn't use it on top. Like, if I'm going to play a double, I'm going to single the 6 here just because nothing's going to pay decent with a 1-9 shot. And, the other thing I will say while we're still in this race, the only 2 horses, now that we haven't talked about the 2 and the 3, when you kind of look at a lot of these horses and you look at who they raced against, they just raced recently or in their last 3-4 starts against horses out of the previous race. Circle of Friends, Super Smart. We saw Reconfigure last week, a vulnerable favorite. I believe finished 3rd behind our long shot, Hitters Park, in the turf race. So for me, I just think these horses are kind of outclassed by someone such as the 1 and the 6. You look at Silent Jimmy, he's 0 for 20 over the Tapeta at Woodbine. Like, I just can't see this horse, having his day, but they happen. So for me, I obviously, if I play double here, I'm going to use the 6. I agree with Emily. Like, I think it's gutsy to single in your late pick, your 3 here. I think you use the 1, right, Dan?
In the next leg, yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think the 1 will offer value, and it's a horse I'd use, but you can see there's some rider changes. There's things like that going on. The 3 and the 9 I thought would take a lot of play because they're coming out of second place finishes, and I think it's interesting to see Jerome's taking them out possibly on the 3 over the other, but I'm not really sure what happened there. For me, I like a long shot a bit who's going to be a price, and it's the same connection, at least trainer, that we had last week with Go Gigi Go Gigi Go.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
I like the 10 a bit. I have to look for price. So when I kind of play this race, I'll definitely use the 10, but I won't just like single him on top of my bets. I like to play tries, so I'll kind of spread him throughout. I know Sean Patrick Nolan commented on the 8. This is an interesting horse coming out of those maiden special weights. Most recently, the 2 on the turf, now switching back to the Tapeta. So if I play a double here and I'm going to use the 6, who now floated up a bit, I'm probably going to use 6 horses in the next leg just because I'm singling. So I have the option to kind of spread. I think the last race, I think it's going to be a race that if you hit something like the trifecta, you should get a decent return on it. So that's what I'm probably looking most forward to.
Okay. Emily?
Oh yeah, no, I think the last race is really competitive. In terms of the 10, I actually wrote him up last time out as a bet Woodbine TB play as a horse to watch off of his debut. And he just did not get the right trip, and he was heavily bet down in that race. I think he was like a 12-1 morning line and actually went off as the favorite. So I just think the public just really overbet the horse that day. I know he had upside and has upside off the trip. So I think, if the price sticks again, as it should, I think he's good value. I think there's honestly a lot of ways to go. You don't love the morning line favorite, the 3, but geez, that horse is super logical in here, and, Cassie, maybe is live in all of these races. So I could go that way. I think a couple horses that are a little bit interesting in here are the 6 and the 11. They come out of the same common race on June 18th, and the 6 was actually, this is Bayou Belle. She was actually favored that day, and it was, I believe, a 10-1 morning line and just got absolutely crushed. And then the number 11, La Bonita, she was the 4-1 morning line, and she got completely ignored. Bayou Belle had some trouble, which I think may be a little bit overrated, to be honest, to where La Bonita, I think, just might actually like this spot a little bit more. I think both those horses are usable, but just in terms of, when we go into the race and look at the board, might get a better price there. Kind of looks at the doubles that way too, that the 6 is going to be a lot shorter than the 11. So I think there's going to be some opportunities in that race. But yeah, I mean, I think the approach to spread is wise, and I also think the approach to single is super wise. So I like it both.
Well, thank you. No, I Bayou Belle, the horse you mentioned there, I thought she was interesting. As you mentioned, like she took money last time, and it was first time Lasix last time, gets blinkers on the first time here, but I thought more than anything in a race, to me at least, without a whole lot of pace that was evident, I think she should have an easier time settling into a more comfortable spot on the front end here or near the front end. Her best race was probably that race 3 back where you see that mile 70 race on the all-weather, finished third there to a winner who came back to win next out and has won 2 stakes since then. And so, I think the distance combined with the fact that I'm not seeing a whole lot of other sort of obvious speed here. I mean, obviously Attention Seeker is one who will be forwardly placed, and you do have 2 first-time starters who, might potentially show some speed. So, but yeah, I like Bayou Belle a bit. I had Bayou Belle ranked just underneath the 1 horse Blushing Brew, who for me was, again, just basically a play based on watching replays. She sat off a really slow race, a slow pace on November 27th. That race going a mile on the 16th, had to tip wide to start a run. Eventually was moved back inside to try to weave through horses. She didn't get a whole lot of running room until late, and that's when she was doing some of her best running. And, I want to say she's been a bit hesitant to go through some openings that have been there for her. So maybe the addition of blinkers will do the trick. Jamie Attard, 22% when the blinkers go on for the first time off a 29 start sample. You also get what looks like to me an upgrade in jockey with Fukumoto hopping aboard. To me, those are all positive singles. So if I'm playing doubles, I would not leave the 1 horse Blushing Brew off your ticket.
Emily, I have a question for you, because I know you like doubles, and I know you like both of Kevin Attard's. Which one do you like more? Because I have, like when you look at Bayou Belle, they put Lasix last time. They did one thing at a time.
I'm going to give you the simplest answer, which one I like more. Because if it's a coin flip, then it comes down to price, and math will always win. So it's the 11. Like, it's a no-brainer. I'm looking at the doubles right now. This is with Pink Lloyd, but $14 versus $40. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, I can make a case for both of them. So yeah, I mean, I would just have a really hard time splitting them. So in this case, it's just math wins the 11.
Yeah, because the reason I look at that too is I always look at, you look at these younger horses or, specifically just maidens, and they start trying different things, right? Whether it's a change in surface, a change in distance, or now we're going to try blinkers, we're going to try Lasix. And I'm not against first-time Lasix and blinkers at the same time, but it's not always, I don't know. I always look into it a little bit, and it makes me wonder what's kind of going on. Are they trying more things at once? Or, in the case of Bayou Belle, the other runner, it's the same connections. You look at the owner and the trainer, at least the majority owner and things, but they did it a little bit more gradual. Now they're just like, well, let's just do it both at once. So it just makes my wheels turn.
So here's one thing. So I don't know why this doesn't show in the standard PPs, but and this is important to note, especially with the Lasix going on, is both these horses when they raced in 2019 were owned by Stronach, and so that's why they weren't running on Lasix back then. But I agree with you in terms of that's something that's always a negative to me. When I see all these changes happening at once, it's like they're just throwing everything against the wall and hoping to see what sticks. So I think your train of thought is totally right, but there I think that is the reason why, is that there is an ownership change with those horses to why they're running on Lasix this year, and we're not running on Lasix as juveniles last season.
I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'm going to put the sound up on this race since it's Pink Lloyd, and we may have some Pink Lloyd fans watching with us. We'll actually let them hear the race call this time as opposed to us, blabbing over it.
Pretending to give a race call.
So the sound is apparently up. So once Robert Geller speaks, we'll know. It's funny, we were doing a show this past week on Saturday.
For a start, it's the Shepparton Stakes.
All right, do you hear that?
Super success.
You're hearing Geller? Okay, good. Yeah, we did a show on Saturday, and we were talking over Frank Miramati's race call, and everyone started freaking out. They're like, "What are you doing? Let us hear the race call."
I do trip notes all the time, and I always have the sound off because I don't want to be distracted by it. So now it's the opposite to me, where I hear a race call, I'm like, "What's going on? What is happening? What's going on in the race?" But yeah, I like every screen, it's like silence. Occasionally, we've got some hard music going on in the background, but for the most part, never a race call.
29 starts.
No offense, Jason Beam.
Yeah, if he's still with us, let us know.
Hashtag team mute.
We did get a couple of people here who are live on their tickets. Wish them good luck. Kay McDonald here said earlier, live got Lloyd singled with 4 horses in the last. We've got Luis here, who's got number 3, going with a little bit of a price here, 33-1. Try to shake things up.
And they're ready. The Shepparton Stakes.
And here we go. We'll let you hear the call.
Locked up.
Yeah.
And they
Bad
break
start
into the
for the
line, including
Stakes.
Pink Lloyd, and is out sharing the lead. Out in front is Not So Quiet driven now. Races out by a length to Dundrum. Pink Lloyd is lobbing along on the inside of Super Success, and Not So Quiet gradually comes across to the rail in front with Dundrum the outside. Pink Lloyd tucked in on the inside of Super Success, 3rd and 4th.
Pretty soft
and then about a half
quarter.
length to Magical Man coming up 3 wide.
Where did they go? I don't see it.
4 lengths coming to the field.
23.
Not So Quiet in front. Out by a half to Dundrum. Pink Lloyd in the box seat. Needs a run through, of course, on the outside. Super Success, then Magical Man. And last is Silent Jimmy.
I mean, the 6 needs to, if he's going to go, he needs to separate like right now, because with the way they're bunched up, you don't want to keep the other horses close. 5's sitting a great trip.
And a length and a half to Silent Jimmy. Not So Quiet and breathing down the neck. Dundrum in front. Pink Lloyd.
I did a saver double with Dundrum, so I would.
Good.
Racing room and is still not extended.
Tell me this horse wins this race.
No.
And now Pink Lloyd's
It's going to be Pink Lloyd.
No.
The question down the center. And
No.
taking a moment or two, Pink Lloyd.
Don't ruin it for us, Emily. I know you're ahead of us. Don't ruin it.
The outside to go to the front and has got them okay, but it hasn't been a spectacular rush to the win. But what an easy win. Pink Lloyd again, and the Shepparton Stakes goes his way. And defending champion beats Silent Jimmy. Dundrum back on.
All right, we can clap for Pink Lloyd. We give him a little round of applause.
We'll beat him next time. It's my famous last words.
Like you said, I didn't see the start for the 6. Did the 6 just sort of stumble out of the gate, or was just wide, or what did you not like about that start?
He broke slow, and then I don't know. I couldn't see from the pan if he lost his footing or not. But just the fact that he should have broke on top, and obviously they went to the front. And then again, I just don't. If you're going to be on, even though he's the second choice on the morning line, you're kind of the quote unquote long shot in the field, right? You've got to send for your life, right? You've got to go and open up on this field. There's no reason a 40-1 shot should be sitting, pressing you on your neck. It's go to the frickin' lead and run this field off their feet if you're going to try to win on the front end. There's no reason, I know he broke a little bit slow, but still it's a pretty soft opening quarter, which would be great if you're alone. When you have pressure, it's totally different. But yeah, Pink Lloyd just kind of got that, that's his class, got the pocket trip, and game over.
If you watched this last week, it took Emily everything she had to say frickin' instead of another word. So we give her credit for showing restraint there and not having a repeat of last week's show. So a couple of comments here that are interesting. Gio Ponte here with, although the 1-1, I feel the 3 ran a better race. I didn't see the trip on the 3. I know we kind of briefly mentioned Silent Jimmy. obviously outran his odds. This is a horse who, obviously, again, just given the board and given everything else, didn't seem like a likely player. And I would imagine this is probably one of the the second longest shot on the board behind Dundrum. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't see the trip, but obviously ran a good race.
He actually got kind of a similar trip to Pink Lloyd, just kind of that inside out type trip.
Tom Espinoza, from Tom's perspective, looked like the jock knew that Pink Lloyd had a ton left. He obviously did. It did not seem panicked at any point. Hey, Alberto checking in from Chile. So,
but again, we talked about just in terms of exactas and why I wasn't really looking at that pool. It's $11. I mean, I guess that's fine, but you kind of have to just be like, I like
that the exacta $11?
I believe so.
That's pretty light. Wow. I mean, that seems lighter than it should be. I mean, I wasn't expecting.
Exactly. That's why. I mean, if you're
I wasn't expecting 50, but I was expting 25.
Yeah, no, it's just it wasn't.
Yeah, so it's 23.10 for 2. I guess you wonder how many people when they play, 23. Okay, that's actually decent money for this when you think about it. But I guess in the point of how many people play this? Do they play one all? I don't know. There are some bettors that aren't maybe being strategic about it, or you have people that'll just hammer the exacta with whoever they like the most for second. Which most people there's no money. If you really were like us, you like the 1 and the 6. There's no point in betting the exacta.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're here on the show as the quote unquote experts to tell you in a field like this, don't ever go 1 all. Ever. Write that in your notes. Tattoo it on your arm. Whatever you got to do. You heard it here first. Don't care what your best friend at the OTB says. No, ma'am.
No, this was probably the biggest paying exacta. And if you did it for $1, it cost you $5, and all you did was almost double your money. It's not intriguing.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's a long-term losing strategy. It's like you may get 1, but you might get rewarded for bad behavior. And in the long run, it's just better to just tell yourself fundamentally, these are things I'm not going to do. This $11 isn't going to change my life, but it'll make me a losing player year in and year out. And this is why we're doing this, right? Educational.
That was the second highest paying exacta. The highest one would have been a 1-5 for 34.40.
Okay. We're going to be bringing in Robert Reid Jr. here in just a moment as we look ahead to the first race at Woodbine Mohawk. Just a quick transition here. We mentioned Play Dark Horse a little earlier on. Just got a quick video for you as we transition into the next race.
Dark Horse. Download the app today.
And here he is, Robert Reid Jr. How's it going, brother?
It's going great, In the midst of a move, though, and PSA, don't move. Stay where you are. It's the worst thing ever. Moving sucks.
This is, I think, week 3 that we've had you on. 3 different backgrounds now. But again, with good reason. You've been moving. You did 1 from work. You've done 2 from home now. Robert, for those of you who don't know, author of the Horse Players Journal for Woodbine Mohawk Park. You can catch him in the program every single night. Robert, we've got a bunch of races tonight, obviously coming up at Woodbine Mohawk. Give us a quick preview of what's ahead.
Listen, I think it's a really fun card tonight, and of course, we've had a last couple of cards. We've got young trotters tonight, 2-year-old fillies in the pure ivory. So should be a lot of fun. Unpredictable, could offer some value. And beyond that, I mean, for myself, I'm really excited again about that late pick 4. I mean, we've been trying to hit it week after week, and we're going with 2 singles again tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. And I don't have a best bet on the card, but I do have a live long shot that is 10-1 in the morning line. So looking forward to that. But we've got a real nice sequence of 3 races to start off the card with, again, 2 divisions of the Pure Ivory, which is a series for 2-year-old trotters.
All right, my man is learning how to work in a good tease here. Emily's laughing about something. What are you smirking about, Emily? What's going on? Share it. Just share.
You know they tell you don't read the comments, so I'm reading the comments, and Inside the Pylons is messing with us, saying $200 exact to 1 all. So he's messing maybe with us, or just with me. But don't do that. He's messing around.
Or with me. He's a big fan of mine. For those of you who don't know.
Taking the piss.
Well, I'm glad he's watching, and honestly, for everything, for all the shade he might throw our way, obviously a well-respected handicapper who knows what he's talking about. We welcome on the show any single time he'd like to come on and join us. We welcome him on and to share his insights. So with that said, we do have about, I want to say about 20 minutes until the next race at Woodbine, race 8 on the night. There's only 6 minutes until the first harness race of the night at Woodbine Mohawk. Ashley, do you want to kick us off there?
I don't. I want to hear Robert.
We don't? All right. We'll kick it back over to Robert.
I'm going to sit back in here. The reason I say that is the horse that I like, I don't see anywhere in the journal. So I want to hear the analysis first.
All right. Sure. I can kick it off. So, yeah, we're starting off again. 2-year-old fillies in the Pure Ivory. It's the first leg. It's a series of races where these horses will be vying to make the final. Will be 2 legs in a final. So they'll be trying to earn their way into it. And for myself, I really like a horse in here, and that is the 3, who's currently 5-2 on the board, which I don't mind that price. And that's You Will Be Queen, one that I was ultra impressed with in her grassroots victory on July 13th. She won with condescending ease. I mean, Christopher did not even move in the bike, and she trotted away from them like a good thing. So I think it's a real good one. And if you notice, the last few weeks I've landed on a lot of Dustin Jones horses. This is the time of year that he really does bring them ready to the races. He's been a specialist with these young horses over the years. So I've got no problem landing on You Will Be Queen. The other horse that I think is a win candidate is the 8 Fox Valley Liza. The issue with this one is post 8. And she might be dependent on getting to the front, whereas I think You Will Be Queen has a lot more options in her repertoire in her very young career of 1 start so far. So those are the 2 main players for me. What do you like, Ashley?
Well, it doesn't matter. My Thunder's already been stolen because the 2 scratched. So I like the 2 a bit as a price. But the other horse I liked, I know you have actually 3rd in the journal. I kind of like the 6 a little bit. Kind of looking at the races, I don't think we've necessarily seen her best yet, and I think I'm just trying to find a price here. I think I struggle with horses like the 7 Spruce Creek and then the 8 Fox Valley Liza, just because they have those outside posts. We've talked about this, and in this case, I mean, you have trotters, but you have the 7 and 8. They both have speed, so it's not like the 8 can really. I don't know. It depends what the 7 does. I know they're always going to be looking left, right? When they're behind the gate, they're going to look left and make the decision of what they're going to do. I will say the one good thing about Fox Valley Liza, at least she's been able to kind of close and stalk earlier on and be a handful of lengths off the pace setter. So I do give probably her more credit than the 7 Spruce Creek. But I'm always looking for value. Someone like the 6 I'll definitely use in my exactas. I'll probably just use for second, just because I think the other 2 might be a little bit more talented. You mentioned the 3. The 3 is probably decent value. Well, was a little bit better overpriced. Now back down to 2-1. And I think the big thing here is this horse is getting back to that inside post. And I think, was going to have a little speed to the inside with the 2. So I kind of liked the 3 post for this one. So yeah, the 3 and the 8 are probably the classiest of the bunch, but I'm going to go for more value. So I'm going to use the 6 for second. I don't know what I'm going to do here as far as a trifecta. I'm still going to wait. I know it's just 3 minutes. I'll probably wait until there's 40 seconds on the clock before they go to try to make a decision there for underneath. You look at someone like the 5, they've had a bad post, but in the qualifiers, when they had the inside, they ran an okay qualifier. Nothing too, I can't really mock that too much, and the price is right. So I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer before I punch a ticket.
Yeah, it's always good, too, with these young ones to watch them in post parade, because the characteristics they show in the post parade might be telling for the race. if when the time comes that we can be live at the races again, you want to watch them score down as well, because I do find myself making last minute adjustments when the driver does score down a horse, pretty hard, and they make a break. I'm probably going to end up taking the horse off my ticket. So always good to kind of wait till later with these young ones. Bet off the call if you can, because they can make miscues behind the gate. I do like your 6 horse here, Bandeo. The thing to note about her last effort was she was not fully extended at all. In fact, I would say it was a measured victory for Sylvain Filion, but he does opt to drive the 8 here. He does, drive for Benoit Belargeon, though, so that's no surprise. But I did like the way that she carried herself in her first lifetime start.
So 2 minutes to go until the opener at Woodbine Mohawk. We have about 17 minutes to go until the finale at Woodbine, last thoroughbred race of the night coming up, and we'll have analysis coming up on that shortly. We did kind of go through some of the horses a few moments ago. I just want to mention, just in terms of looking at the board and how things opened up, since it's not on the screen right now, Classy Gizmo, the 5 horse, down from 10-1 on the morning line, opened up as the favorite, currently holding at 3-1. Surprisingly, Attention Seeker, who I think we all thought would get a lot of attention, at least open short, opens up at 9-1 off the 9-2 morning line. The horse I like a lot, Blushing Brew, the 1 horse, 12-1, and then a couple of those horses on the outside that we also touched on, J-Lord Jam, the 10 horse, 12-1 right now. Some really nice prices. La Bonita, 8-1. We touched on her. And then Bayou Belle, right about where they thought she'd be on the morning line right now, 5-1. So we'll come back to that in a moment. For now, we're going to keep the focus here on Woodbine Mohawk. There's one more question here from Gio Ponte. Any opinions on the 4 here? I don't know if we've got any strong feelings on the 4 horse, who's currently 17-1.
I mean, for a price play, I'm okay with including this horse on your tickets. Obviously, first lifetime start off of 1 qualifier. I wasn't, overly impressed by the qualifier, but the one thing I will say that I do like is that she did pace consecutively, faster quarters. So her third quarter was 29 seconds. Her last quarter was 28-3, which, is an angle a lot of guys will go with, especially on horses that don't have a lot of form. We'll get a look at her right now on the track in 1 second. I can't remember if she's a bigger or a smaller filly, but I would say, like, if you want to include her underneath at a price, I would say that's not a bad place to go shopping. I don't see her as a win candidate, though, just because I do think the 3 and the 8 kind of stand out here.
Okay. Rod's here. Yeah, go ahead. I'm posting a comment over Robert's face. That's about Robert. We can't see his reaction to it, unfortunately. This is someone who follows you when Christopheru won at 60-1. You pick well. I'm not sure what that says, but follows everything from the Naira site, doesn't take Woodbine harness, but does use Bet America and Express Bet. So this is a devoted Woodbine Mohawk player who follows your bets and who would like for Naira to be taking those bets, but they don't. So that's from there. And, it looks like Sean here, who we got with us for the first time, he's watching baseball. He's distracted. Baseball's back. He doesn't know why we're not drinking Trulies. Looking for a split screen of ABR. Well, he's got it, I guess. ABR in the baseball game, which is wonderful. So thank you, Sean, for sticking with us. All right, let's get some bets. Ashley, I know you said you wanted to wait until the last moment to figure out what you were doing here. How are you going to bet this race?
So, looking at the horses warm up on the track, I was kind of digging through this, and I wanted to point out the 1 Blackout Riley. So this is what I will say. If you go to look at those 2 baby races at the Meadowlands, looking at that second one where this one was 3rd, the winner was Dream Chapter. We saw this horse race when I was at the Meadowlands last weekend, was heavily favored and finished 2nd, but it was a respectable 2nd with Jimmy Takter in the bike. And this was one that was actually supposed to race the weekend before when I was at the Meadowlands, but that's when Tropical Storm Faye came in, and this horse was scratched due to transportation issues. So kind of seeing how that horse fared at the Meadowlands Dream Chapter. Pretty good race. They went, I'm pulling up the times there now. That's a mile track there. So The final time of the race was 1:55.1. That one went 1:55.3, finishing second with the last quarter in 27.1. So definitely was rolling, and the track was pretty fast that night at the Meadowlands in general. I'm kind of curious about the one because I think the price is right. My only concern is we've talked about this. If you have speed on the outside, you have to go. And if you don't have speed towards the inside, that's problematic because you're going to get passed. And this is one that in that first baby race had the rail. That's kind of what happens. Didn't have the best of efforts, then shifted out to something like the 4 path, the 4 hole, the second baby race, better start. So my concern here is the post, but I think this horse probably fits decently looking at where Dream Chapter, trying to compare things out of those baby races. That's what makes these races really difficult. They're babies in general, but those baby races, to me, if you haven't seen them and we really can't pull them up for every track, it's hard. Now I know like Woodbine and Meadowlands, you can't actually get the replays for those at some times, but luckily most of these horses that have had those baby races or qualifiers, whatever each track labels them at, you could pull them. So for me, I probably do have to use Robert's 2 horses on top, the 3 and the 8. They don't offer value, and then I'll use the 1 and the 6 behind. And maybe if I play a try, I'd play something like 3-8 with 1, 3, 6, 8, and then I maybe single someone for third at a price. I just think I'm going to stick with an exacta here, depending on what the payouts are.
You're 3-8 with 1, 3, 6, 8 exacta.
Yeah, let me look. No, I'd probably go for the price. For me, I'm not going to play a 3-8 exacta if I'm going to play a heavier base wager, especially if it's 7-5 and 2-1. But I'm pulling up the grid right now.
Now it looks like they brought a horse back here. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, I don't have the audio up, so I mean it could be a shoe repair, taking the bike off. So it looks like they're probably gonna go to the blacksmith. I don't have the audio up right now to see what they're doing here. Yeah, it looks like they're going back to the blacksmith stall. So the horse probably threw a shoe, which for me personally, not something that I like. I don't like that.
Right.
Again, it's gonna hopefully it is the same shoe. If it is, then that's obviously much better. Usually they can retrieve it on the track and tack it back on. But again, not something that I would rush out and play when a horse does have to have a shoe repair before the race.
All right. Well, while we've got that going on, let's switch back over to the thoroughbreds for a moment. And the last race here, we've got 10 minutes to post. We will switch back by the time that race goes off at Woodbine Mohawk. Emily, your sort of quick observations here as you take a look at the board for this last race.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of as we suspected, pretty wide open. I mean, it's a lukewarm favorite right now, the 5, who's bet down off the 10-1 morning line, which the morning line was probably a little bit high, kind of given the effort and coming out of the special weight race. Last time out, it was better than looked effort. We talked about this last week, the trainer winning the finale on that race. And almost kind of a similar trip with this horse to that 3 horse last week, kind of interesting enough. But is getting the extra ground, is getting that surface change back to the synthetic. And again, just kind of a lot of ways to go. So I'm not against this horse as an individual, but at a short price, if it kind of remains there, I think there's other ways to go. The 9, kind of logical, again, coming off the way off, similar, ran well at this class last year, probably belongs at this class, is tested at the distance route. I mean, you just don't like to see kind of a long time maiden, but I think we saw one last week too in the finale, right? Mm-hmm. One of the horses that was the short price, or not last week, the week before, the horse at the short price. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one. So I mean, it's possible. I think the 10's a great price right now. I think this filly has a lot of upside coming off. Kind of, in my opinion, the 10 and 11, the 2 worst posts, kind of the best value in the field right now from what I can see. I mean, a good price on your horse too. The number 1, kind of getting a little bit overlooked right now.
The just to confirm, our speculation was correct on the 5 horse in the opener at Woodbine Mohawk. It was a shoe repair. So still some time there. Ashley, we mentioned J-Lord Jan. Obviously, as Emily referenced, the price looking really nice right now at 14-1. Is that where your eyes are going?
Yeah, I'm going to use this horse in an exacta both ways. I'll put like 5 runners on top and, flip it and reverse it. I think Something that's interesting, I agree with Emily. I thought the 5 Classy Gizmo would be lower than 10-1. I think 7-2 is short to endorse, specifically looking at that most recent start on July 5th over the turf. They're going 7 furlongs, but this horse had a bad post, obviously, and was far behind, but this horse was flying late because, well, the fractions were very hot that day. I mean, the half went in 44-4, 109. I mean, they were going. So this horse had that tempo to run at and made up that ground late. Kind of trying to figure out, yes, it was a maiden special weight. Obviously, there's class relief. You're stretching out in distance. There's a lot to consider. But I don't love 7-2 on the horse, especially trying to figure out how the pace scenario is going to shake out here. We always talk about pace. You kind of look at a horse like the 3 Attention Seeker, who was forwardly placed last time out going long, which was very different than the debut. Plus, it was over the turf. But some others in here either have had troubles breaking out of the gate or have never really been in contention. And then Emily mentioned earlier, you have 2 first-time starters that you really don't know what they're going to do. Between the first-time starters, I mean, the 2's been having these longer works. 6 furlong, 7 furlong works, which is an interesting move into this race. But then someone like the 7, I mean, the 7's working pretty consistent in the mornings and has some decent times. You're getting Patrick Husband in the saddle, who, you know, you look at them together, the trainer and him, they don't do great together. They went at 9% from 22, looking at the statistics from, you know, last 2019, 2020 at Woodbine. I'm just curious as to how things are going to unfold. I mean, I have to think that, you know, if you look at the race 2 back from Get Off My Tail, this one should be kind of in the mix early on. I'm not saying the horse is going to be on the lead, but I would see this one a handful of lengths off the leaders. So I'm trying to figure out the pace. I think that's key here. I mean, we talked about Lo Bonita. Actually, you know, we talked about her efforts last year. I think she debuted really nicely. That sort of trip really panned out for her at the 1:16 distance at this level. For me, even now, like studying the race more, I know Emily said like a price thing, like the 11. Oh, the math wins. I probably think the 11 has a little bit more upside. So I'm struggling here to kind of narrow it down of who I'm going to use, just because I really don't know what's going to happen pace wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and when you're doing a maiden race like this, I mean, it's so hard to get a grasp. It's impossible to get a grasp on what the pace is. I mean, just, you know, you kind of have to have some type of opinion of whether you are going to use or toss the chalk, right? You know, at least have some type of opinion. I mean, I know this is kind of a more easy one, but to me, I look at this spot and I see the 2 first-time starters, and I just don't want a first-time starter in this spot because we have these other horses with change. I mean, number 11, if you talk about upside, she really was not asked in that race. You know, the 6, she's probably going to show speed coming out of that race. That's sort of how she was ridden last time out. The 11, it was the opposite. They just they took back. They really didn't ask, and they asked a little bit late in the race with her galloping out, which is positive. I mean, the 4 could be up in the mix if I'm looking at optics plot. You know, she's got enough tactical speed. She could go to the front. I mean, on optics plot, she's playable if you're talking about in terms of trip. On paper, I don't know how you get there. I mean, her races are just soft. They're just not very good. In terms of Attention Seeker, talking about his trip, on debut, he broke really slow. And the winner of the race was a best of the speed winner by open length. So that's why you see that that change of tactics of the second start. Because the first start, and what I was saying about pace in this race in general, is you just kind of just don't know what these horses are going to do. The 5 had to set up with the pace last time out. Well, this is longer. It's got a middle post. Maybe they're going to run closer to the pace. He was also slow that day. So if he breaks quickly, or she breaks quickly, I'm sorry, could be forwardly placed. I mean, the pace is just in this scenario, it's impossible to tell. It's just one of those, if you're going to play, you know, probably pick a horse that you like and a win bet, try to keep it simple on that front, or have an opinion, you know, I don't like the 5 or I don't like the 9, and I'm going to play against those horses and tossing a few others. But that would be kind of my approach in terms of wagering on this race.
Yeah, I'm still in love with the horse on the rail, Blushing Brew. I've got win place money on her. Of course, I'm alive in that pick 3 that I posted earlier as well. And I'm just trying to, I'll probably sneak in another exacta here with the 6 Bayou Bell, because in terms of pace, to me at least, she seems like the one sure thing to be on the front end. And I'm not sure about what else is going with her. So I'm going to, just so I don't get, you know, beat by her and not cash an exacta or not cash a ticket in the race, I'm probably going to use her too, especially if that kills my might pick 3. All right, we're gonna hop back over to Woodbine Mohawk here. We're gonna attempt this this daring move here, and then hopefully get back in time for the last race at Woodbine. So hang with us.
Don't worry, we're not gonna run over top of each other, so we'll get back.
All right, we are coming up momentarily here. Remind folks again, just briefly, who the horses are that you're on here.
I'm on the 3. You Will Be Queen. Just floated up to 3-2, which is still a little less than I wanted on this horse. Foxville Eliza, I think, is pretty logical in second at 3-2. I would kind of play a bigger trifecta and use the 1, 4, 6, and 7, and even try to split them, because if you split them, you'll get a bigger payout. So that's where I am.
Trotting fillies of the 2-year-old variety swinging into
3, 8, 1,
the
6.
first division, first leg of
Okay. Did you put a bet in finally, Ashley?
Yeah.
The 8 broke stride. So
Don't rush me.
Actually, what's the play? I want to root at least.
I just went 3, 8 with the 1, 6. I looked at the exactas.
Okay.
3 was winning. They were playing okay.
So the 8 broke stride. So the favorite is out of it, or even money.
Big speed to go for and get that lead.
And we're looking for right now Blackout Riley sitting in a good spot. So the first time starter Spruce Creek, who we did kind of talk about a little bit, went to the lead, which I was not. I didn't really see happening from post 7. Blackout Riley sitting second, and my horse You'll Be Queen sitting third. Christopher just pulled, and that prompted James to pull out of the 2-hole there with Blackout Riley, who looks really good right now. That was one that I overlooked in here.
Actually, you're looking good, right? You're 3-1-6.
Just stop it. 3-1's fine too, but
yeah, that's what I meant. But you're 3 on top, right?
Yeah.
The 4, who one of our viewers mentioned, is moving first over at a big price right now.
27-1.
They walked that second quarter, 32 seconds almost. That's pedestrian the second quarter right there. You Will Be Queen still on top. The 4, Serenity Joy at 45-1 is not going away. Matt Bax is still sitting chilly. We'll see.
Well, I hope that person got a bet in. This horse looks pretty good.
You Will Be Queen still looks pretty strong on the front end. Let's see how this pans out. The 4 looks like he hasn't been asked yet. We'll see if he can last the test here.
Let's keep the 1 up there for Ashley.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get that 31.
Looks like the 3 is gone at 2-1. That ended up being a decent price on this horse at 2-1. And the 4 is going to try to hold second. I really hope that our viewer played that, because it's going to run 3-4-7. 45-1 second, and
yeah, these exactas are going to be massive.
12-1 in third with the 8 horse. The even money shot out of it. So right now
They're going in the gate. They're going in the gate, FYI.
Oh, we're going in the gate. Oh, real quick, by the way. So the 4 horse is the horse I actually like here. You mentioned this horse, Emily. 32-1 right now. The big question I have is Justin Stein. Justin Stein's ridden the 1 horse the last 4 times. And he jumps to this horse today. Took money last time at 8-1. Threw in a clunker. I'm going to throw that one out and just take a flyer on this one at 34-1. I like the 1 over the 6. I think the 1 race as good as the 6 last time. You're getting 8 points higher at 12-1. So for me, I'm going to just go 1-4-4-1, hope for the best, and play a lottery ticket if I win. So
I like the approach. I really do. I think it's like a keep it simple, because this is such a tough race.
RJ coming in hot with that thoroughbred pick there, 32-1.
Go ahead, Ashley. Exacta Mohawk's going to pay 134 for 2.
Wow.
I'm really sick.
Ponte says $20 exacta 3-4. I hope she played that. That would be spectacular.
2 broke horribly.
The 2, yeah, not a great break for the 2. All right, what do we have here? Oh, it looks like a multi-way go for the lead, including La Bonita going out with Bayou Bell, who I think we knew would be out there,
and the 3 we knew would kind of be out there too.
Yep.
Yeah, the two stablemate are gonna hook it up early. Gotta be excited about that.
Way to guarantee your next mount, exactly.
This is like, we did it like this in practice. One of us
I'd be okay with that. They can do that. The 10 is right there. It's fine.
Hell yeah, the 10 said great. Got some cover,
so you're all on the
tracking.
10.
The 10 is much more relaxed today. Last time she was a little rank and wild out there. So definitely the experience helping out.
24
So
and
Gio Ponte confirmed he or she hit a $20 exacta 3-4 in that first race at Woodbine Mohawk. Incredible hit.
What a score.
The one doesn't look like she's doing much. The 6 is kind of starting to sneak away.
Yeah.
4 just steadied hard. A lot of trouble on your floor.
Come on with this 10.
How about that? Huh.
Ooh, it's going to be close for place. Ugly.
I'm alive for a super potentially. We can get this 5 up for second. I need the 5 up for second.
And then the 9 and 4? Or
the
who
9.
do you have for 4? And then the 8?
Not the 8. Not the 8.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, I didn't use the 8 in the 4th spot. Yeah, look, I was between those two. I had such a strong opinion on the rail horse, and then I, overlooked the 6, who made a lot of sense. Again, I mean, was the one sort of confirmed speed horse, and was obviously just better than.
That just crushed all my dreams there. Oh. If it's 6, 10, 5, I have the exacta in the try.
Oh, so it worked out perfectly that we both lost. Yeah, I was
rooting for the 5. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I was 1-6 over 1-6-5 over 1-6-5 10-9 3, and so not the 8. Ugh. Man, the 1. What a clunker. That was disappointing. All right. Well, this is weird. We're not celebrating a big win. How do we do this? What do we do now? This is the first.
It's gonna happen, right? It's gonna happen.
We jinxed ourselves. We bragged too much.
Yeah.
So I started off strong and just went downhill.
Bayou Bell. That was a good. That was a really nice race by that horse. They went pretty slow. Wow, I thought they were going faster up front. 24-2, 48-4. Wow, they went really slow. Okay.
I think in that case, someone like the other Kevin Attard's other runner doesn't really have that much of an excuse from that standpoint, not sticking around for anything. So
yeah, I wouldn't. It's hard to make an excuse except for the fact that I don't know if necessarily just in terms of because she's on the outside, them just wanting to maybe use and so put her into the race where she's not necessarily a front runner, but I don't know how good she is either. Again, it's one of those where you're like, maybe that's the excuse. I mean, she kind of stayed on. She's evenly. You can see her in the yellow there, but yeah, nothing really. I think the 10 still kind of ran a good race. Nothing in there, just kind of from the first glance and look that I'm looking really excited to bet back next time out. That's for sure.
Yeah, that just was not. No, it was not a great race. And the 3 horse was disappointing. I mean, the one that we talked about a couple of times, who was just sort of even there on the rail, didn't do anything, and yeah, not the most exciting race to close out, especially since we didn't hit. But good news, very good news here. Gio Ponte lets us know that we can celebrate with him, and he does confirm that he is a guy, so we can celebrate together. Gio Ponte, we are glad you hit. And we've got a couple more races at Woodbine Mohawk, so we could hopefully join you in actual earnings, but we will certainly join you and celebrate with you. And then as Robert Reid Jr. teased a few moments ago, he's got some singles coming up later on, and he's got a price play later on. So we're going to hear that in the next 20 or 25 minutes. This is the part of the night where we say goodbye to Emily. Emily, it was real. It was good.
Yeah. We'll do it again next week. What do you have? 8 more weeks? 8 more weeks?
Oh yeah, we've got a long way to go.
Counting.
She's like, oh God, one more down, one more.
I'm counting the days till Indiana Grand Meet, and that's in November. So yeah, this is nothing. This is an easy count.
Wow, that 20-cent super paid $7.56. I am completely disgusted. My ticket was $14.40, and it was like that. Anyway, all right, I'll stop complaining. Emily, have a good night. We will see you back here next week.
Next week. All right, you guys. Good luck. Last couple races.
Later.
Bye, Emily.
Bye.
All right, we are moving full bore into the harness hour here. Gio Ponte with a thank you to Emily. As always, great insights. And now we've got basically the portion of the night where I sit back and I let Ashley and Robert do their thing. This is where I get another truly, and maybe I'll turn on that baseball game. And then I'll, of course, rejoin when it's time to put a bet in. But go ahead, take it away, guys. Tell us about the second race.
I'm so upset over the first race because I actually threw the 4 on my tickets, but I decided to play for a big number, a big base ticket, and I used the 8 for second and third with the 1, 4, 6, 7. And the chalk player in me just got clipped because I really should have had that. And the try paid over $5.50, which is just absolutely crazy.
Oh wow!
Yeah, with a 2-to-1 shot winning that I love. So, anyway, sorry, Ashley. Take it away in the second.
Okay, Ashley.
What?
I'm sorry. You were just about to do.
You literally cut me off. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, and I think it's like the second time tonight. I'm having a bad night. I noticed, and this is because since I started hanging out with you guys, I'm like betting harness racing every night now, which is the last thing I needed in my life, by the way. Just ask my wife. What I've noticed is, you guys have said it over and over again. You're like, these 2-year-old races, they're very unpredictable, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like we all know 2-year-olds are unpredictable. Like thoroughbreds, I bet 2-year-old races all the time. I know they're unpredictable, but it seems like these races are way more unpredictable. I want to say, again, this is just anecdotally, it seems like 90% of the time I bet on a favorite in a 2-year-old race, they lose. Like, do favorites ever win 2-year-old races? I mean, is it just expected that they're going to do something dumb and it's going to set up for a long shot to win?
I would say in the trot races, it's a lot more unpredictable. And like what we saw there, right? The 8-horse, who has a ton of early speed and hasn't really made any miscues. Well, tonight with the outside post, made a break in stride. So I think that in the trot side of it, you see a lot more big price winners. The pacing side, it usually runs a little more true to form, and you'll see some dominant ones, especially in the OSS gold division right now. There's a horse up here that's just a stone cold killer. So I mean, I would say with the trotters, especially because they're always prone to making that miscue, and we'll get another one of those in race number 3. So maybe we'll see another price in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I think okay, let's look at baby races at Keeneland, Saratoga, whatever you want to use as your example. I mean, yeah, there's unpredictable things that happen. You have horses that break awkwardly, or when I was at Monmouth a couple weeks ago, I don't know if it was a 2 or 3-year-old, but I mean, the horse when the gate opened, the horse didn't go, kind of rocked back, then went, still won the race. But I think there's also I think the big thing is in Robert's mentioned, you go off stride in harness racing where you're not really seeing that. I mean, when do you see a horse that's at a full bore gallop just starting cantering or changing kind of gait? You don't
Right.
see that. So there's that. And there's also the thing is, in thoroughbreds, you get problems with the starting gate. You still do get that here, though, in harness racing, where you see horses don't want to go up to the gate, or they're pushed right up against the front of the car. You know what I mean? I mean, there's still issues. I know when I was at the Meadowlands, I want to say it was Tony Alanya had a horse. I forget the name off the top of my head. There were so many big horses that didn't really like the way the gate was set up at Tioga. And the horse had issues on the gate at Tioga, which sounds different, but it's not all identical and the same. So I just think, there are a lot of factors, and probably even a couple more in standard breds that you don't see in thoroughbred races.
Oh, that makes sense. By the way, I just opened my Dark Horse app, and I'm actually playing with free coins. Since I'm in the US, I cannot play for real cash. If you're in Canada, you could play with real cash. So I am playing with coins, and I will let you know that the Cube, the AI-powered algorithm that spits out horses here on Dark Horse, they like the 2. The 2 is the top choice here, followed by the 7. So those are your couple of favorites. and then your first price that you get into is the 8. So it's 278 on the cube right now, and I just put in a bunch of bets with coins using 2, 7, and 8. Tell me how I should bet my real money now.
I think I know Robert. I won't steal his thunder. He really likes the 7. I think you talking about the AIs using the 2. I mean, you look at a lot of these horses; they're not consistently necessarily racing at Woodbine, but the 2 Sid Arthur, he is one that has been. I see his name and I like have flashbacks. It's like not the horror flashbacks like the Rev, but they're still there. They're strong. And you're trying to kind of make sense too in this sort of race where everyone's coming from. What's the level? Because I know, Dan, you always talk about like how do you see levels, and obviously you can look at the condition, but I know that gets confusing. So I always tell you too, you can always look at the purse for the most part. But what do you do when a horse is coming out of Georgian or Grand River or Chester or different tracks like that, where you don't know what the same level it is? It gets a little bit more confusing. And a horse like the 2, I mean, he's been consistently kind of at this level or similar to it. So looking at his most recent effort, he had the 2-hole that day. His big thing is he doesn't show speed, really, or at least he hasn't recently. So, you know, you look at the effort 2 back, I think that's probably what kind of stands out. He was flying late, and he got there in time to win, and he actually drew off in the end. He won by 2 1/4, and he was favored that day. And then, obviously, like I said, last time out, he had that more inside post and didn't prefer it. He's getting that again, but I think there's some horses in here that are really stepping up. And I think in the case of him, it's interesting because the horse to his inside doesn't have early foot in the sense of standard bred racing. So, you know, I know Robert likes the 7, and this is probably a very logical horse that he's got a little bit more early foot than I'd say someone like the 2. And I think that's kind of beneficial for him. And to his inside, he doesn't have direct speed. So I think if they want to send him a little more early, he can get into a good spot out of that post. You know, I think you said what the AI like for 3rd, the 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 8's interesting. I mean, you got to put a line through that last race, and I'm sure Robert agrees. There's really no takeaways from that effort at Woodbine. But you look at this other one who's been at Yonkers, has been at, it looks like Chester. I don't know. To me, it's the 2 and the 7 based on probably recent races and in class. The one I do wonder a little bit about is 8-1 on the board right now. The 3, who's got a great name, Let's Get Pickled. He's interesting because you looked at his effort at Georgian last time out. He had the inside and he didn't show speed, but he actually got a pretty decent trip in the end, and he raced a nice second. And I think a horse like him, I like them that he's on kind of towards a little further out, and for me, that's the value. Robert, go ahead. You only have like 47 seconds.
Yeah, I like this. I like the 7. The problem is I thought the 7 would be the price play over the 2. So now I'm kind of in a weird spot. The 2 starts ago, that effort would probably crush these. I mean, he was unreal that night. The 7, I do believe, is the best horse in the race. 3 starts back. That's non-winners of 50,000 lifetime at Georgian, which is a much higher career earnings condition in this race. I believe a 7 long-term is the best horse in the race. Again, trip tonight, not so sure about that. Let's Get Pickled. I don't mind. Last effort at Georgian Downs was pretty good. The horse, though, that I think can hit the ticket, even though he's really thrown some clunkers in, is Radley Hanover, the 1. The 1 can leave like a rocket off the gate. I mean, he shows no speed, but look at the post. 9, 8, 7, 8. When he draws inside, he can leave. His bottom line, March the 5th, left in 27-3, had to lead and stop. I know the connections believe this horse could be a good horse one day. He hasn't shown it yet. 28-1. I might take a shot using him in the try and the super.
Well, you didn't have to tell me twice. I put him underneath in my super, so he's there. I mean, I used him only in the 3rd and 4th spot, but we'll see. I've got a ticket in. I've got the 2-7 on top, 3-8, and then the 1 underneath that. So let's see. Let's see how this shakes out. We got a couple of comments here. Gio Ponte trying to stay hot with the 5 going against us entirely.
The one's pushing the gate away on the rail here, so it'll be interesting to see how we can do tonight.
Daily Doubles also likes the 5. So a couple of our viewers like the 5. I don't know where the 5 is at the moment. It looks like right behind them. And
raised credit coming from Sarnia. Chris Matthews, the trainer, has been driving this horse. Now it's Doug McNair. So yeah, could on that angle. I mean, down to 2-1, tons of late money. I was not expecting that on the 5. Interesting price.
2-1, wow.
Bombs away up front right now.
Wow, look at that. 60 to 1 over 50 to 1 over 16. The 1 is 50 to 1. Well, I guess I mean that 5 took such a late hit combined with the money the other ones are taking.
The one horse early in his career, the connections really thought this horse was potentially a good horse. He got scorched in some efforts at Pocono, and I mean I'm talking when he was 3 in his second lifetime, starting to get the half in 54, which is really tough on a horse in his second career start. So again, he might stop tonight, but he has been one that has been on my radar as a price play when he was drawn side, and that's tonight with the rail. Although he's following a 60 to 1 shot. We got Siddhartha second over, looking like he's just going to tear off cover right now. And the 7, this was my worry with the 7. The 7 gets away. He's 4th up right now. It's going to be tough to close from there. Right now, my only hope is Siddhartha getting the job done at 2 to 1. That's an overlay on Siddhartha. I thought Siddhartha would be even money in here. I really did.
Now that the 8 was in a terrible spot. Looks like he's moving well, but he's got a lot of work to do.
The 5 looks pretty good right now.
Yep. It looks like it's going to be 5-2-3 potentially.
3-7, and you get the 7. Like I said, I really believe that 7 horse is the best horse in the race. It's just really trip dependent, right? And coming from back there, 55-3 to the half. I get a reasonable half to close into, but just didn't happen tonight. The 5 was one that I overlooked. I wasn't. The horse dominated at Sarnia last start, but it was a really, really soft race. And came home in 30 and 1. But I guess somebody really liked this horse because 10 to 1 in the morning line gets bet down to 2 to 1, ends up the favorite at 2 to 1. That's wild.
And I'll tell you what, the horse was 5 to 1 right up to the point that they were at the gate, because I was putting my bet in at that point, and I saw the horse. I'm like, who's this 5 horse? We haven't talked about it all. 10 to 1 is now 5 to 1. I hit enter on the bet. I looked up. Next thing I saw was 2 to 1. So was bet down from 5 to 1 to 2 to 1 in the last flash. So yeah, there was obviously they knew.
Yeah,
whoever they are.
I thought a horse that raced well too was the 3. Let's Get Pickled. I mean, kind of almost on the same level there. I mean, I still think, like you said, White Cookie was flying lane and a little more so, but the 3 still ran a respectable.
Yeah. The 3 was good. The 3 runs third, and they were both coming from, really an impossible spot, right? There was legit enough, like 26 and 3, 55 and 3, but then the third quarter is 29 seconds, 124 and 3, and then they're trying to still close into, a 28-second last quarter. They're going to have to close, in 27 flat or less to get there where they were coming from. So not really reasonable to think that could happen. And for myself, I mean, my spreads and my pick 5s were 2, 3, 7. And of course, they run second, third, and fourth.
Congrats to a couple of our players here who continue to cash. Gio Ponte, I don't know what Gio Ponte is going to do with all the money he's won tonight. Is just rolling in it. So let's keep that up. And here's what I'm going to do. Let's see. Oh, wow. Look at this. Gio Ponte needs the 7 in the next to close out the pick 5. Went all in the last 2 legs. So let's go. That gives us something to root for. The other thing I've got here, you might recognize this. This is my notepad. This is my pen. I'm ready. I'm ready for those late pick 4 singles, Robert, and I'm also ready for your long shot play of the night. We usually make people wait till the end of the show for this, but you know what? Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's go ahead before we get to the 3rd race tonight, which we'll take live here, which again you could watch on TSN on Racing Night Live if you're in Canada. If you're here in the States, you can watch it on YouTube on America's Best Racing's channel. But let's hear a little bit more about this. Let's start off with the long shot that you like tonight.
Sure. Okay. Let's go to race number 7. All right. Race number 7, which is non-winners of 3,200 last 5. So it's the bottom condition, right? So one of those races where you have a lot of horses that might be coming from the B tracks, other ones that haven't been performing well here, and some that, have just kind of been mainstays in this class, not picking up big pieces. So I'm going to one that's actually shipping in, and he's racing 2nd time off the claim for Kyle Fellows, who is a high percentage trainer and does really well when he does claim them. And he claimed this horse at Sarnia. So he went all the way to Sarnia, which is not close to Mohawk Park at all. And he claimed this one for $15,000, 2 starts back. The horse won that night, came back and raced, respectable at Grand River in non-winners of 3,700 last 3, which is actually a tougher race than this one, being non-winners of 3,000 last 5. It's a little bit confusing with the conditions, but that race with Brody Scrapper was the winner of the race. He'd be like, probably 3 to 5 or less in here. And this horse ran third to him there. So he's a little bit hidden because the lines don't look that impressive, especially the ones prior to last time. And coming in from Grand River, which is where his last start was, it's a half-mile track. His time there, even showing up at 1:54 and 3, isn't really going to impress anyone and get on the radar. So I really think that, even though there are a couple horses that are dropping here that are, much, much classier than this race, they're off form. And this one will get overlooked because they're going to take all the money. That's the 6 Military Secret and the 10 Cliffhanger. And I think you try this 4 horse and hope that in his second start now for Kyle Fellows, he takes a bigger step up. And at 10-1 morning line, I think he'll be, somewhere around the 7 or 8 to 1 mark. And I think if he steps up just a little bit more than last time, he'll be good enough to get a big piece of this. So he is my live long shot of the night.
Yeah, the one thing I've learned about Robert over the past few weeks, he could be very confident about his about some of his plays. A couple of weeks back, he gave us a pick 4, 3 singles, and those 3 singles all hit. He also mentioned to me a horse last week. I believe it was the last leg, or maybe it was another one of these nights that I was playing, because I'm almost playing every night now, where I looked at his picks, and he liked a horse that was 10-1 morning line. I ended up singling the horse in the last leg of my pick 4. The horse wins at 9-1, and I think you had the runner up too for like an enormous exacta. I didn't hit it, of course, because I'd lost like the previous leg in the pick 4. But whenever he gives you a price, you also want to pay attention. So I like that. I'm going to go ahead and put some bets in around that. I did notice the pick 5 starts in race 6, so the race before then. And, I know you said you got 2 singles, so I'll let you know.
And oddly enough, in that one there, the pick 5, right? So race number 6, if you remember, Dan, we looked at a horse last week, Muscle Dynasty. Remember the one that broke stride?
Yep.
He broke stride, was like you couldn't even see him anymore. He was 17 lengths out of it. Closed to be second. All right.
That's right.
He's in there tonight. The problem I have with this horse is every single start of his young career, even qualifying, it's been Bob McClure. So now you get Paul McDonnell, very accomplished driver, especially with trotters. But Bob McClure jumps to the Luke Blay horse, who I think is like world beater potential. So, we were looking to bet that horse back, but he may have run into a monster tonight in Macho Martini, and that's race number 6. Macho Martini is a 3, Muscle Dynasty, who an incredible recovery last time, who I desperately needed, to stay alive on a ticket at 7-1. But he jumped it off early. So that race is just one that's kind of intriguing to me because, he'll definitely go off as a bit of a price again, even though he did race so impressively last time.
Is it the driver's scale there that really tipped the scale for you, or did you like all things being equal? You like Macho Martini better? Macho
Martini was incredible last time. Now, again, shows a miscue in one of his qualifiers. He actually broke twice in a qualifier. So, there's some unpredictability there. And that's the boys' side of the series. That's the Millard Farms series. For me, I just think that this horse, might be a very special animal, Macho Martini. Although, again, from what you saw yourself last time, the 6 put forth an incredible effort and might be special in this one.
Yeah, I'd never seen a horse, actually, this race in particular, they were talking about, this horse broke stride pretty early. I think it was pretty much off the screen entirely for about half the race. And then out of the clouds, I mean, this horse closed, literally just swooped the whole field and finished like a fast closing second. I mean, if he had another quarter of a mile, I guess he would have gotten there, but he came on just incredibly well. Before we get to your other locks for the rest of the night, Ashley, why don't you give us? Do you want to start us off here in race 3?
I started the last one. You can let Robert go. Give him more time because I started the last one. So.
Okay, Robert. Then you start this one, then we'll kick back to Ashley, and then we'll close it out with your locks later on the card.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. So this is another. So here we go with the 2-year-old trotting fillies in the pure ivory. It's the other division. So these horses will be vying to make the final against the ones we saw in the first race, where You Will Be Queen, won pretty handily. And this one here, I'm landing again, and it's gonna sound like a broken record. The problem is we got 3 to 5 right now. I'm landing again with Dustin Jones and Chris Christoforou, which oddly enough, he was my favorite driver growing up. And here we are again. And I love this barn this time of year. They send out a lot of good ones, and this horse qualified like an absolute machine. Again, 3 to 5, and I'm the only person on the board there that actually picked this one on top, which is wild to me. So 4 to 5, really no value right now. Decentra, another group of connections that you want to pay attention to this time of year. Luke Blay and Bob McClure, we just mentioned them with the other one, the Martini horse. Now, this one here, last time had no chance. Post 7, we talked earlier, post 7 for these young horses can be difficult, and even more difficult at Georgian Downs over a 5/8 track. And that was racing for in the OSS Gold division. And this one really closed up nicely. Got away 7th, had no chance. They went through, reasonable panels up front, and she was trying to close into something that just was not possible for her to do. She still managed to finish 6th, but really it was her final 16th of a mile that was impressive to me, and she trotted really hard through the wire. So, I think the 7 and 8 are pretty difficult to separate. It might come down to in the first race where the 3 and the 8 were difficult to separate, and 2 to 1 in the 3 is much better than even money in the 8. So that's something you might want to tab here. And then for me after that, I didn't mind Rubies Are Nice. Last time again, didn't really have any shots, a long way out of it. Closed up decent to actually Ban Bandeo, who raced okay in the first race. And the 6 horse Snowfall, who right now sits at 9 to 1 on the board. Again, did not mind. She comes out of that same race. Didn't mind her effort. She sat an inside trip and did have trot when they came under the wire. So for me, it's 8, 7, 3, 6. Again, though, we're landing on the 2 favorites. I do think they stand out here. I'd love to say, hey, let's throw them out and look for some bombs. For me, those races probably come a little later on the card, but I just think that they both really stand out here. What do you think, Ashley?
I think it's the 7 and the 8, so I'm always trying to look for that value underneath, maybe in a try. Interestingly enough, I think horses that I find slightly intriguing are actually the 5 and the 9, which they're really cold on the board, especially the 5. Kind of looking at that first qualifier, this one was second behind Chablis, who won a New Jersey. It was second last week in a New Jersey Sire Stakes race with Andy McCarthy in the bike at the Meadowlands, and it was a really respectable effort. This one, obviously, though, has had issues in those two, the qualifiers since then, and then the gold level. It's kind of a head scratcher. I honestly didn't watch the replays on this, so I'm trying to think, did this horse need something? Trevor Henry's in the bike. He's been in the bike for the last 2. So obviously we talk about the gold level. That's the premier. So I'd upgrade this horse based on that a bit. And like I said, I did find the first qualifier, at least that baby race, to be good enough. And then interestingly enough, looking at the 9 Keystone Cecilia, 8 to 1, now at 12 to 1, was just 17 to 1 moments ago. Had you kind of look at the race 2 back, which is the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes at the Meadows, which when you think about that, kind of you look at the person level, yeah, that's probably the gold level, similar, not too far off, at least well beaten in there, but it had the dreaded 9 post. Now last time, and here at Woodbine had the 6 post, but showed a lot of speed. If you're looking at the kind of the times of the races, this is one of the faster races that you'll see on paper for this field. So I think that's interesting because they definitely changed the tactics with her. Now I don't know what you do, because you look at someone like the 8 has been forwardly placed. What do you do out of the 9 hole? We always talk about this. They're probably going to have to go. I still think she can get a piece even if she doesn't go, but obviously she's going to have to overcome this, and this could be a lot. So I think I'm going to use her for maybe 3rd in a trifecta, but I do think it comes down to the 7 and 8. other than that, I don't want to say that I'm reaching for a price because someone has to finish third. So I would use horses like the 5 and the 9. But I think the top two, they're the 7 and the 8, regardless of the post.
Is your ticket 7-8 with 7-8 with 5-9?
Yeah, I'd play that. Not
I don't want to
ideal.
force you here. I'm not putting pressure on you.
Yeah, I know. I feel like is that your ticket? Sure, I'll bet that.
Well, no, look, the view, like literally, I'm getting texts from my dad. What are they betting? The viewers want the ticket.
He commented tonight. I feel like he's like taking a backseat approach.
He feels like he's nothing he can do. He just wants the tickets. He doesn't. He's like this is all really great. He keeps telling me, he's like, oh my god. He's like, Ashley and Robert. He's like, those people. He's like, they could talk. They know so much more, that they know more than the actual owners. They know more than the drivers. They know more than anything. How do they know so much about all this stuff?
So you should tell your dad whenever I give a ticket out, like a try, like 7-8 with 7-8 with 5-9, that he should play 7-8 with 5-9 with 7-8 or something like that, because I don't like to box and it usually bites me in the what.
So wait, how should he bet it?
I'm just saying, like, say I really like a horse, like I'm gonna wheel a horse for second or something, right? Put 5 over him and I don't back wheel. That's usually what comes to nit me later. Or things like, instead of kind of going for the price here, because I think it is 7-8, I'll play 7-8 with 7-8 with 5-9 for maybe, I don't know, a couple dollars, play a little heavier base wager, where maybe I should have skimped out and loaded up in the second spot more.
All right. Well, we're gonna put it out there so people could see it. And then they can determine whether or not they want to play with you or play against you.
Yeah, I'm just warning your father. Bet against.
Robert, how about you throw a ticket our way?
Sure.
How would you bet this race?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try. I love the 8 floater up now to 8 to 5. I'm a little bit excited about that. Especially, I wasn't that keen on the way the 7 looked on the track. I could be reading into it too much, but I just now, of course, the 8 just dropped to 6 to 5 again. But I'm going to play 8 over the 6-7, over the 3-4-6-7-9, and hope maybe something funky happens and it runs 8-6 with one of the prices there, because I do think the 6 horse is taking a little bit more money than I was expecting. And the horse raced okay last time. The horse had an inside trip, had trot at the wire, and I think that one might be a little more steady than some of these other ones in here. And half of this game is just staying flat. So I'm going to go 8 with 6-7 with 3-4-6-7-9.
All
right. Give me a second to bet it. Hang tight.
Seconds.
Yeah.
But I was really loving the float up on the price on the 8, and now just crushed down again to now 7 to 5.
Oops. Okay, we're good.
You get your bet in, Ashley?
Yeah, I changed it a little bit.
Oh, look at you.
Uh-oh.
Don't mislead.
What happens if you cash now, Ashley? Now if you cash.
Wow.
That's not going to happen.
Wait, you guys.
I started looking at the prices.
You got to see my dad's ticket. Try to decipher this ticket.
Nice. Hey.
It's a lot of numbers. All right. Basically, 7-8 needs to win for him. Gio Ponte, as we know, is looking for the 7 and also believes this is going to be a chalky race. Likes 4-7 on top with 4-7-8 with 4-7, 2-9, 6, and 8. All right, and Ashley's going to leave us in suspense here about what her final ticket is.
A losing one, probably. Okay, so I'm not shocked. Like I said, the 9 had to go.
9's a rocket off the gate.
Last time, so he just rocketed out of there. So it'll be interesting to see how this race goes time-wise in comparison to earlier. Let's see.
By the way, as you're
watching, right behind the 7, right?
Yeah. They just floated out of there, which I mean, really is probably the best strategy for these young horses, right? Pretty big quarter though, 28-4. There's your 5 that you talked about now coming with the challenge here. Trevor Henry, 28-1, taking the lead. Crazy. This horse looks fantastic too, and now just put the 2 favorites behind him. Is that how you went to, Ashley? You go to the 5?
No, I did not use them on top. The 3 is motoring.
14-1. Wow.
This will be interesting.
I mean, the 8 still has no excuse, right?
Well, I mean, it depends how good the 5 is, right? I mean, he needs the 5 to be good now in order to have a chance, because the 7 now moving to the outside there might have a better position than the 8. This will be interesting to see how this pans out.
It's like that 3 is about to go wide or something, huh? Straighten back up. Yeah, if the 8 can come through down low, come on with this 8. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Look, the 7's looking best of all.
The 7 is just cruising out there. We talked about just picking one of them, and it looks like it's the 7 is the much better one of the pair, and the 8 is going to fight gambling for second. It runs 7-8. Didn't see who ran third, though. Who do you need, Ashley?
I need the 5 third.
5 did finish third.
Is he definitely third, though?
Yeah, he's third. I was hoping he won for a second there, or he finished second, because my dad's ticket, I know he used the 5 second. So you ended up essentially going with the same sort of ticket.
Sort of. I did change it a little bit, though. I actually was trying to get a price. So in my ticket, I singled the 5 for third, and I actually just went 7-8 nice. with 5.
Wow.
It's tight. I think the horse got there.
I think you're okay, Ashley. I think you're okay. And that's some confidence in the 5 to land third there. And I mean, I guess really you would have loved the 3 to go by the 5 then, and the 8 to just really get out of there, because that would have been.
That's kind of my thing there, is like, for me, and that's why I said like 7-8 with 5-9. I started looking at it more, and because I liked that first qualifier from the 5, knowing that Chablis, the winner of the qualifier, was second in the New Jersey Sire Stakes by a nose. I mean, it was like very tight photo. I think it was a Pair Anglum horse with Dexter Dunn on the bike that technically won. I can't think of the name of it right now, but kind of seeing that sort of effort made me think the price would be right on a horse like that, and obviously had trouble in those last 2. So you kind of just hoping that something went wrong. But my thing is my thought process was, okay, if I single the 5 and don't use the 9 for third anymore, and something happens where I keep the 7 or 8, they got to win, but I get a price, then I'm okay. I mean, something like a 7-3-5 trifecta pays really good money for what it is.
Yeah, you would have got huge money for that one.
Well, even though you waffled a little bit, we're going to put this up for posterity. This was the $4 bet that Ashley gave you earlier. Which one?
This one would have been cheaper than the ticket I played.
The $4 ticket, which I didn't end up playing. I ended up like going, I was like, ooh, Robert.
At least your dad listened to me and then used Robert, because Robert liked the 3.
I hope that super pays. Oh, he got the super for 20 cents. I hope that pays all right. I mean, it should pay. I know it's chalk, but hopefully it pays a couple bucks.
At least I started off good and ended good. The middle was
Gio Ponte, by the way, is alive all. So let's get some bombs in these next 2 legs for Gio Ponte. I hope your short price singles aren't in the next 2 races, Robert.
No, they're not. Actually, it's oddly enough, my pick 5 ticket was actually all now too. However, I went dead. I didn't use the 5 in the last. So, and we'll see what's left in this pool in a second. I mean, I think it's pretty good, because the 5 was a hidden horse in race number 2. So we'll see. Only $1,600 left in the pick 5. I mean, that's wild, right? Okay. So with all, you get a bomb down here, and you could be shooting for the pool on some of the horses. Should be interesting to see how it pans out.
That's awesome. Let's get that home for Gio Ponte. All right, let's end the suspense. Give us your locks of the night so that we can go ahead and play some late sequences here.
I mean, I got to give the disclaimer right now and say there's no such thing as a lock.
Come on,
we can't.
Lock.
I know. I know we want to, and again, we'll definitely speak with some confidence when we get to the end of this card here. Let's look at the late pick 4, and we're going to start in race number 8. We're going to go back to the 2-year-old trotters. This is for the boys this time. It's the Millard Farms series, the first leg. And my ticket really changed when the 5 Walk on the Moon got scratched. I thought that Walk on the Moon was probably the place to land here. That was my top pick. But I'm just going to use the 3 and the 4. So on a streak, connections we just saw dominate right there. Bob McClure, Luke Blais. I think this horse, qualified very well. Actually finished second to Father Corby, who was my best bet last week, who ran third. And Black Tie Bash, who I certainly was in that race with Father Corby. I overlooked last week. I really didn't think he was as good as he was. I didn't think he was good as advertised. He was incredible last week. Last quarter, 27-3, dominated. I think that he is definitely one you need to have in your ticket. So we're going to go too deep in there. We're going to use the 3 and the 4 in the first leg, race number 8. Race number 9 is where we're going to look for a price. We're going to use the 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. And Ashley, say it right now.
Just go all.
Yeah, why not just go all? You're using half the field. But, me being stubborn, I'm going to just try to go 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. We'll take a couple tickets with an all as well.
Damn, go all.
Oh, I'm going all. I learned my lesson. I'm going all.
But the horses here, I think we do have the right ones. I think Oz on Vero Beach goes to the front tonight, or at least is more forwardly placed. Preeminence could be a horse. The 3 could be one that really jumps up big time this time. For the bomb, though, I like Got Power. Got Power got wiped out in the final turn last time. I think this horse has a lot of talent. She just really hasn't put it together, except for her win 3 starts ago, where she got up by a head. I think she's been disappointing this year, but you never know. This could be the night she steps up. 15-1 in the morning line. That's the horse I think that could really blow up the pick 4 ticket. Now, we're going to go to the singles. But I'm going to give a disclaimer and say that if you like big tickets and you want to try to play for a big one, the 10th race is the favorite you have to beat. My question is, who do you use to beat this horse? Stravinsky, the 5, is a horse that's been headed in the wrong direction in the sense that he's now turned into a bit of a speedball that gets caught every week. The problem is that this is a very difficult place to find a horse to beat him. I'm going to single him on my big push ticket. I will give the disclaimer that I will be using tickets with maybe an all, or at least spreading out to about 5 or 6 of them that will attempt to beat him to really take out a lot of the pool. It's going to be tough. I think he's probably alone, but I definitely don't want to go dead on a horse that's been going to the front and getting beat every week. That's Stravinsky, the 5, in race number 10. The last race is one where we're going to single with confidence. That's number 8, Tuapika Jesse. First start, Anthony Montini. Anthony Montini actually trained horses for me many moons ago. He trained my best horse, Kentucky Briar. He is a very great horseman. And, I have the utmost confidence that he'll have this horse ready to roll tonight. Third start over in North America from New Zealand by way of Philly Park. 2 starts there at Harris Philly, and both starts finished second. Now people are gonna say, well, hang on a second here. This horse has got seconditis, just lost 2 in a row. 2 starts back, lost to a stone cold killer. Last start, lost to a horse that's come back and raced really well. And that was in non-winners of 3. This race tonight, non-winners of 2 up here. And what I love too, this is a 4-year-old against 3-year-olds. The lone 4-year-old in the race, and against a field of 3-year-olds. She's got the maturity edge. She's been going big miles down at Harris Philly. I really don't see them beating this horse. I think she's going to be a rocket off the gate with Trevor Henry. And while there are some horses like Koki the 1, Smiling Darling the 3, Doc's Harmony the 4, and even I would say maybe Cat the 7 that are decent enough horses, I just think that they can't really get near this one tonight. And if she comes back to anything near her last 2 efforts, she crushes this field. But again, she'll be a short price, but that's okay because we're going to single her in the pick 4 and hopefully get some knockouts along the way, or punch that ticket I just mentioned. It's a $10 ticket, 2x5 by key. Punch it for a big base number. That's what I'll be doing, and just hope for the best.
If you want to give yourself a little more coverage, I've actually already been experimenting with some of these combinations. You could bet the 3-4 all 5 with 8 ticket. That's not going to cost you much more. It's $18 for $1 if you go 3-4 all 5 and 8. The only reason we tell you to do this is because a couple of weeks back when he had the 3 singles, if you went all in that one leg where he was spread, it was, I think, like an $8 ticket and returned $7.80 or something.
Yeah, it was big. And I know that because Ashley did convince me to get it a little bit for myself. So I did what Ashley did. I kind of changed it up a little bit. My ticket was altered a bit, and we did hit it. But again, the big press tickets would have been nice to hit that night. again, I like to play higher base tickets when I do think I'm on to a sequence. And that's what we're going to do. But I will take your guys' advice and take it all. Then maybe on a couple smaller tickets, try to get Stravinsky beat, because he's the key to that pick 4. If he gets beat a 7-5 morning line, it's going to pay. I don't care if the 8 goes off and he's minor last and wins. You get Stravinsky beat, it's going to pay.
Yep. Well, we got. I also tested out the 2 by all by 8 ticket for 20 cents, and that's a $32 ticket. If you wanted to, if you thought that you could beat Stravinsky and you wanted to play a smaller denomination, that kind of definitely requires you to catch at least one bomb there in one of those 2 legs. But good stuff. So I hope you've been taking notes. If you haven't, you see Robert's Twitter handle there. You can reach out to him directly. He will answer you. Same with Ashley. Twitter handle right there. Always up for some good horse racing conversation. Not the only member now of the Mailloux family on Twitter. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. So my dad has a Twitter. I don't know if you want to follow it, but it's J.A. Mailloux at the end. He followed Dan yesterday. I was told Dan followed him back. So
Instant.
Good things. No, he's always on there. And my dad, like, kind of, I don't know. He'll be like, nice tweet today. I'm like, you don't even have a Twitter. So you're like pulling it up anyway. So he said, if you're going to do it, just get an account, follow things you're interested in. Like, you know, Blood Horse, Breeders' Cup, your daughter, whatever you want, you know? And so yesterday we had to pick out the profile picture. He wanted to make sure it was a good one. So we did that. And then today I talked to him after work, and he said some cuss words about why did I want one of these in the first place? Because his phone dings all the time now. So
there's a way to turn that off. You should help him out there.
Well, so by dinging, I also already turned the sound off, but it's just like the notifications coming up bothers him. So I would assume it'll take him like a year to tweet something out. So don't get like excited. It won't be entertaining. And when he does, it'll probably be bashing my tickets. So
look, horse racing Twitter is the best. As long as you could stay away from, like, you know, politics and everything else that you'll find there on racing Twitter as well. Some of that crossover content. All right. Well, it's been another awesome week. I want to thank again Emily Gullikson for joining us for our first half of the show here. We covered 3 races from Woodbine and then the 3 late races here from Mohawk with Ashley and Robert. We'll be back here again next week. And every week it's Woodbine Live on Thursday night starting at 6 p.m. on all of ABR's social channels. Also next week, we will have Ashley's Betting After Dark returning, taking an off week, a well-deserved week off. So we don't all have to stay up until midnight tonight for Betting After Dark. But it returns next week. Robert, did you want to get in the last word?
Well, I mean, just, you know, let's hope we catch some tickets tonight. You know, if anyone wants to, you know, come at me on Twitter, by all means, like you said, I love the conversations on Twitter. I love talking about horse racing. I'll reiterate this. I'm always 2 days ahead of everyone handicapping because of my deadline for the journal. But you know, usually I like the conversations that bring me back to the night that we're in, because when I do try to make some wagers, it's difficult because I actually forget everything that we're talking about tonight. So I actually have to go back and read the journal, oddly enough, just to see where I'm at. But yeah, definitely, you know, download Dark Horse, check it out. It's a fantastic product, and hit me up on Twitter. You know, and listen, good luck tonight. Let's hope we cash some tickets, and good luck the rest of the week.
All right, let's get some of those bombs home for Gio Ponte in the next few races.